Hi everybody, it's Ingrid. I was inspired by the flowers and the colors on this board. So we're going to create this scenic card using some very basic techniques and some silhouette stamps. To get started, I need a couple of masks. I have a piece of regular copy paper, and in this I have a piece of label paper, and this is just full sheet labels. I've just kind of trimmed it down. So I've just kind of popped that in there, and I just want to make sure that it's right about here. So I have my finger where the edge is for me. And the reason that you're putting this in between a piece of copy paper is when you go to punch, it'll punch through cleanly. If not, because it has a kind of like a gum backing to it, same thing with a Post-it note, it's a little sticky, you're never gonna get a clean punch. And that was just a 1-inch circle punch. So to create our scene, we need a few things. We definitely need some Post-it notes. You can use masking paper, you can use painter's tape, you can use whatever you want, but you're gonna need to mask off the rest of your scene here. I need a couple pieces of just regular Post-it notes here, and I'm gonna secure my card base. Now this is just a regular A2 size card folded at the top. I have the 5.5 inch across, 4 1/4 going up and down. And we're just going to line that up, make sure it's nice and straight, and then using the sticky part, just secure our piece down, just so that it doesn't really go anywhere on us when we don't really want it to. So to have enough space, I'm gonna mask off a rectangle, and I wanna have 1 inch at the bottom and 1/2 inch on the sides. I'm gonna create a horizon line. Now, you're gonna have to decide if you want more water or you want more sky. I think I'm gonna have actually a little more sky than I am water. So I'm just gonna kind of pick about there. So you can see we're gonna have about 1 inch of water, just a little shy, and it looks like about 1 3/4 inch sky. That's that's about 2/3, 1/3, so that works for me. I always wanna keep that rule of thirds in mind. I wanna use a little distressing because it blends so flawlessly. So we're gonna start off with our mustard seed, which is our bright yellow. Now I'm gonna put my sun kind of right here. Again, rule of thirds, kind of crossing, one of those grid marks. Before we put a mask down for our sun, we're gonna do a little bit of sponging. Now you wanna keep this really light, and the nice part about having all these different masks down is you can always kind of tap off on one of your surfaces. So we're just going to lightly start off our project and come onto the project and just kind of go across here. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of creating that blend that the sun sometimes does. It's not necessarily just a sun, although my other project has that because I thought I'd showcase it both ways for you. And you can see I've just kind of a little more concentrated right here, and that's where my sun's gonna be. So I just want this to be nice and light. Don't worry about it being perfect. Just want that kind of faded out a little bit. And then we're going to take our mask that we created out of the label paper. And you can use masking paper, you can use whatever you want. And then I just want to kind of put this down right here. Looks about right. This is removable label paper. Now I'm going to come back in and I'm going to do a little tiny bit more sponging just to kind of create a little bit of a glow around my mask here. And that's gonna do it for this yellow. We are gonna come in later on and make that a little bit darker, but I'll show you how to do that afterward. Next, we're gonna come in with our other two colors, and we have Picked Raspberry and Tattered Rose. Tattered Rose is a really great blending color. If I were to come in and just add blues here, I would get green, and that would not look good. But if you take a color like Tattered Rose, or in Stampin' Up, for instance, Crisp Cantaloupe, things kind of that shade, they seem to work really well when you blend. So I'm going to take this color, and I'm going to do my best not to really get in here around the sun, but I am going to cross over a little bit. So I'm going to start off my paper and come on and just kind of go around. And this is just the middle swath of my sky. This is just a really nice sunset. And I'm keeping this really light. I'm not pushing down on my paper very hard with my sponge tool. I'm just kind of letting it go in a circular motion right on top of the paper. Now there are other ways to create these sunsets. You can do them with brayers, you can do them with ink stylus tools on glossy paper. There's all sorts of things. Watercolor would work really well. This combination is actually a very pretty combination. It's kind of got that romantic feel when you start to get these colors down. was really having fun with it. Now if you want, you can even come a little further down. I'm gonna use my brightest colors down here, so I'm not gonna worry too much about the top and the lower portion. I will do a little bit just kind of right where the yellow is, just to act as a blending buffer. So I'll leave that open, and now I'm gonna move on to my picked raspberry. And picked raspberry is a pretty bright color. We're gonna come in here just at the horizon line a little bit. Again, keeping that nice light pressure. You can see I was just kind of going in an upward motion here, and then I'm going to come back in at the top and come over this. I don't want to come too far down, and you can see even I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, getting a little too fast, and I'm leaving some marks behind. Don't worry about that. To even that out, you're going to take the lighter shade and come back in over it. Sorry, my battery cut out right there. Now we're going to keep the broken china, which is our next color, just at the very, very bottom at the horizon line and at the very, very top. So I'm going to mostly do it off my project, but just coming on a little bit. And when blue and kind of pink or purple combine, they create this really pretty indigo or deep purple shade, depending on what colors you're looking at. And so you can see how that's just a little tiny bit darker. Now, if you're going to put in islands or other things here, then you may not need to do this because you'll just end up covering it back up, but you can definitely do it up top. And that kind of transitions into that dark night sky. You can see how we're starting to get that really interesting transition. Now I do have little marks there, so again, I'm going to come back in with the lighter colors, starting first with the picked raspberry, just to kind of really blend this so that it's not too blue. Just blending some of those distressings together, and then back in with the tattered rose, which is really going to blend that together. Just create a nice, flawless transition. See how smooth that looks now? I'm really loving that, and you have that nice, bright, vibrant yellow. Now I am going to come back in with the yellow just to kind of give it a little bit of a pop. You can see how you have that transitioning color here. Very pretty. I'm liking this. It's nice and soft. I don't want to overdo it too much. I don't feel like I need to come in and clean anything else up, but first we're going to work on finishing up the sun, and then we're going to also create our water. So now I need a mask here, so I'm just going to take some copy paper. I'm just going to come in as far as I can and create a punch. You can do this using a sticky note. You can do anything that you want. We're just going to end up holding it down. But first I'm going to remove my mask here. I'm not going to peel it off completely. I'm just going to lift that up, put that back down. And you can see how we have that really nice bright ring around that. That's nice, except I want this to be a little bit deeper yellow. So I'm going to try to not hit that very edge if I can avoid it. I'm just going to place this down. You want to be careful because this could shift on me very easily. You could always take a Post-it note just to kind of help secure it down in spots. Take a little bit of the mustard seed. Come in here, notice how we still have our horizon line down. Just kind of come into the center. And like I said, I want this to be a little bit darker than here. I like how I still have that nice light ring. I'm just going to come around a little bit, but add a little bit more color in the middle. Now I'm going to come back in with a little more of the picked raspberries, and be careful not to come over to here because I don't want to add anything here. I'm just going to kind of come across my sun at the bottom, not keeping light pressure again. Just kind of helping with that whole sunset feel. Some nice color transition there. A little more yellow. And there you go. Now, if you don't really want to have that ring, you can certainly go a little bit deeper. I like it because that's actually very natural for the sun. Now that we've completed the sunset, we're going to work on the transitions in the water, adding our scenic elements, as well as finishing touches. I'll see you in part 2.